Namaste and welcome, beloved mighty companions. Oh, a holy circle of light again. Oh my goodness, so good to be with you and just focus on this light. And I'm getting talks on the backpedaling. Backpedaling, two topics. Jesus is reminding me about backpedaling. You've heard this term, it's like, whoa, 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 Jesus, this is really good so far. And then, you want to go, you want to kind of, let me see if I can backpedal out of this. This seems really good, and we don't even see where we're backpedaling. And it kind of ties together with that conversation. Sarah had sent that, that quote about if your brother asks you to do something outrageous, do it. And it just was reminding me, it's like this story is like this little combination of backpedaling, whoa, 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 Jesus, and a brother asking you something you think's outrageous. So the call in my heart really was to try to go to Monty Sahaja, but you don't know what that means. Like, you don't, you want to be close to a master like that, or someone who's really, totally in their satsang, which would be totally in truth, right? And but you're drawn to it, or you're drawn to come here, or however, you just feel that pull. But then you're in the middle of it, and the ego's just like gonna run, because where there's no compromise, of course, there's not wiggle room around it. So anyway, I'd wanted to get to Sahaja. I didn't know how. But all of a sudden, two beings from Sahaja came and said, okay, so you want to be head of the transcribing team? And it was like, my ego was like, well, that's not good enough for me, kind of. But, yes, because the spirit will use attraction. I was definitely honored, to you're honored for a minute, and then the next minute it's like, oh, this isn't so good. It's hilarious. We can watch that play in consciousness. Anyway, I'm too good for what they're asking me for. But anyway, so I went to Sahaja, and then they said, oh, we've discussed it. We want you to come to Sahaja and leave where you are now and just leave and go somewhere else, move into town so you can come to Sahaja every day. And it was like, what do you mean? And it was the perfect, the ego just starts throwing up all the objections to like why that's not possible. And then I went outside and almost threw up. I had to have an expression. Because it's like the ego knows, like there's a part of us that knows, okay, now we're getting pulled into that tractor beam. And it was like, whoa, this is not. So anyway, it was all miraculous. It was so ridiculously miraculous. It's such a good example of how you have to say yes. You have to see through that, whoa, not so fast. It's an answer to be a prayer, to be, I can't even talk about Sahaja. It's like so amazing. That you just walk on that property. It's like, whoa. So anyway, it was so amazing. I got their room found in town where I could stay. It was just, all the miracles. So that's really what he's pointing to when he's saying, look, sometimes it's going to seem really outrageous. And you really do get used to outrageous. The world's version outrageous. Like I've talked about, you getting on a plane. I was flying back from Muji from Portugal, and I heard, okay, you're going to Jerusalem in a week. Okay. And get on a plane about a week and a half later, off to Jerusalem. And I think that's really what he's pointing to, us looking into the objection to, the spontaneity, this infinite love, that they're infinite possibilities because we're infinite love. And that there will be times when we're going to try to object to ourselves being expression of divine being in a really strong way. It's going to come up in all kinds of ways. And that's why we need each other to really stand and listen carefully, to listen beyond the personal identity that comes up to go, oh, no, I can't do that kind of thing. And also it was reminding me, speaking of Muji, some of the beings there were telling me about some of the things that happened. See, when you start these symbols show up in form, and you start hanging around with beings that are in that deep devotion. And we've all seen these miracles, these things that can't be explained by the laws of the world. And one of them, so Muji was, I think I don't know, there was nothing at Sahaja, really. I mean, there was like a rubble building when they moved in. There was like, I think 8 or 9 of them that went there in like 2013. It's like a desert, really. It was a valley, a desert, no water, and all this stuff. And maybe they were up to 12 or 20. And Muji goes, okay, in 2 weeks, we're going to have, they didn't have toilets, hardly, you know. We're going to have, I don't know, 200 people come on this property. We're going to have a retreat here, you know. But they said people were pulling up, and they're still putting up latrines, you know, but you know what I mean? You don't move the same way. You just don't move the same way, because you're in that, you got all the power of God behind us all the time. But in that ego base, we're just denying things. So the other story too about Muji. So of course there's no water on that property. Well, there is water. Now they have more water. And he's just walking along, and he goes, okay, now dig here. Now this would be one of those examples where you just go, there's like no way. And the water guys who had to dig it, the well, they're going, no way. So they started digging the well, and then they said, well, we're down. I don't know how deep they were. And then they said, well, we can't find it. He says, you haven't dug far enough. So they kept digging, and don't you know, they found water on that property. But unless we're really in that trust, that the expression, that's what I love about Guruji so much. What a beautiful expression of spontaneity and just joy and love. You know, every time he's like, you know, he's just perennially happy. It's the promise of Jesus for all of us. And so dedicated to spirit, like off the rails dedication to everything. He just gives everything to love. It's the most precious thing to be in that. So yeah, so it's really beautiful, to share those stories and talk a bit about Monty Sahaja and my gratitude to those beings. So being around beings that are devoted is such a precious thing, but there are going to be times when we're going to want to, you know, something wrong with those people or whatever. Or, you know, this is not what I booked up into when I signed up for whatever we're signing up for. It doesn't matter. Whatever Jesus sends us on, or come into the center, you know, it's because the ego always outpictures things the way it wants things to be. And then when things aren't like that, then it's a situation. See, it's a problem with the situation. That's why we were laughing here about writing up those top 10. You know, how do you know your ego's getting active? And we were laughing. I think I've talked about them before. When you're in community, you're going to start trying to contact everybody that you haven't seen in the last 15 years. Anybody but the mighty companions that you're given. That's a good sign right there, you know, to join with, because that's the play. That's what the play is, because we'll go looking in consciousness. We'll make the decision. Remember, Jesus says that in the Course, you're going to make a decision first, and then you're going to ask me. You know, you're going to make a decision about, you're going to ask me, do I do left or right? But you've already made the decision. And that's the play in consciousness. And that's why I really ask them all the time, okay, is this correct? Because all kinds of things are going to rise in consciousness. And he's helping us screen out and really learning to listen to him, like the fine tuning. Renee and I were talking about the project where, so lovingly, she, as part of her a selfless service to God, after the session, she will she takes the notes, and then lovingly we collaborate to put them out. So on YouTube, so people have a little bit of introduction and are really learning. It's extension, right? We're learning to extend God's words through us. And it's a beautiful opportunity to look at the notes and go with Jesus through each line. This is a powerful thing to do, just like going through, like for here, going through a new covenant with them. It's such good light training. You know, okay, Jesus, is it this line? What do I do with this line? Do I still believe that line? What do I need to focus on this whole page of notes? It's so powerful to do that, you know, and really tune in, that fine tune to what the Spirit's telling us to do. That's how fine tuned it can become. And then it's just a relief. We think it's really horrible for Jesus to be doing that. But remember, as we were talking about, the divine light and the light of infinite being, does it make any decisions whatsoever? Well, I was getting it too today, decision making with Jesus, how indeed, you know, that itch to decide is a desire for sin. The decider, see, having a decider is that itch to experience sin. So by following the Spirit, it unwinds us from that habit of wanting to decide. That's why Holy Spirit decide for me, for God for me, to break that habit of, it's such a relief to break the attachment to the way we want things to be. So I had found, I'm looking for, it just went away. There was this beautiful post in the ACIM New Covenant. I thought I would try and address that someone said, because it's so helpful to have your questions. It's for me, you know, it's to see, it's like, it's love coming together to see what's true together. And then you're sharing your thoughts as we share our recognition of the denial. It's for everyone. You know, it's like a team Jesus, team go to God. So I'm just asking him if is there any more about this backpedaling? He says, just join with me quickly on that, because you all have that, because it's sort of like, you know, and it's talked about, the ego backlash. It's a desired experience. Maybe we just can ask him, Jesus, is there any desire below a level of awareness for a backpedal? An experience of like pulling back from infinite. If he says yes, we can work with him on that. To have quote unquote ego go from suspicious to vicious. Is there any desire for that experience in consciousness? If so, can you help me out with that? To release the desire for viciousness, that vicious play. And just ask the light, will you help us? Because we're the only place we can be vicious is with ourselves. And that's why join quickly. We can hear them already. Join quickly in a moment of like, get on the messenger group and text this. I need to join with somebody. Let's jump together. I need to join to see what's true. So the ego is going to try to pull back, see, and go hide under a couch and not want to join. Because the ego's plan is, I can do this myself. So let's ask the Holy Spirit to show us, Jesus, in the light of divine being, is there any play of consciousness? I can do this myself. Let's ask them. If that comes up, then ask them for a change in perception. In truth, can we do it ourselves? Let's ask the light. No, I could hear it right away. No, we need the light. So any thought of doing it ourselves is, who's the one asking that? We can look in there and see, it's the idea of a personal identity going, I can do this myself. It's to maintain that I-ness, the separate self. So we need help. That's why it keeps bringing in this joining. Join, join, join. Ask for help. Send questions to the ACIM group. ACIM Jesus, a New Covenant messenger group. So, beloved Teresa, she's adorable. She wrote, the dream is starting to feel lighter. Oh, isn't that the wonder of it? With people I've never met, but appear to have invited to my messenger table. So now Jesus is arranging our constellations. Like this light circle is a God constellation. Do you remember him talking about, let me arrange who comes together? See, when we do that, it's such a deep opportunity for healing. When he arranges the people, the way I would arrange people, the KI, that seeming identity, it would be based on shared interests. Did we like going to the theater together? See, you would like people, I would like people or not like people because of if we had shared interests. Then, and that would be the play. Did we like each other? Do we get along? And somehow in the spiritual journey, Jesus tends to send you the ones you won't get along with. So we can see where we're denying divinity. See, the ego protects its little domain by not putting us in contact with, a lot of times, with beings that kind of rub us the wrong way, quote unquote. But in the spiritual world, if for the speed up, we're going to come more in contact with the ones that are going to kind of show us where our buttons are, so we can see we have no buttons. We can see where the play of consciousness is to say no to ourselves. But it's still a dream, isn't it? In the light of divine being and honesty of God, is this a dream? And here the answer. It's not a happy dream unless the idea of a personal identity. We can ask the light with an idea that a personal identity is here. Can this ever be a happy dream? It's impossible. As long as there's desire to deny divinity, it's a hell dream. It's a dream of hell playing out on a timeline. It seems like, oh, there's these little juicy sweet meats right now. Something really good and wonderful is happening. I'm going to go on vacation. My kids are coming over. But it's always, that's always a future. And we're not even living, we're not alive. We're not celebrating the life, the totality that we are. The only thing, when the dream gets so lovely, I get attached and don't want to wake up. So let's ask the spirit about that. When it gets so lovely, so we want to look directly in the light of divine being. Is the dream of the ego lovely? We really want to look directly, because the ego's trick is it's lovely. And Jesus is telling us it's lipsticks on a skeleton. The ego paints pleasure and pain. And he's been talking to me about looking at the things that we like as well as the things that we don't like. See, we tend to look at the things we don't like and kind of gloss over, okay, I'm just going to fix what I don't like. But it's really important to work with Jesus on the things we do like as well, just to see where that trick of pleasure is, where we're tricking ourselves. Because pleasure and pain are the same. We can ask the divine light, are pleasure and pain the same? The distinction with infinite love, the recognition of divinity and celebration of divinity, as those energies clear out, love just loves nature, infinite love. So it's not attached to anything that appears. It's just being, pure being, and expression of being, without like trying to hold on to things. Does the light try to hold on to anything? So the happy dream is happy, but not because of what's happening. It's happy because We're happiness itself. See, happiness is identity. In the light of divine being and honesty of God is happiness, identity, who we are. The light won't tell you no on that, but you're going, but wait a minute, I'm not happy. The funny thing is we don't even know what happiness is in truth. Because the ego is a denial of true happiness. It's a denial, it's a denial of divine light, of what happiness truly is. So it plays in pleasure. It plays in a future happiness to deny that happiness is identity. It's just what's here is happiness. That's all that's here is happiness and joy. We can ask the light, is what here is here a happiness and joy? So if we're not pure happiness, pure joy, as he's saying, supreme happiness, then there's a denial of identity. There's not supreme happiness, that there's some piece of identity that's in play, some piece of the dream in play. So we're transcending the dream. It's a transcendence. Like it's light. Light being as it is. Dream gets so lovely, I get attached. So see that the light itself does not get attached. So many spiritual traditions talk about, be the observer, just the one that notices. All things can work. It's a way of not getting so involved in the ego. Difference is here, Jesus knows how hard that is, how difficult to play that is. That's why he makes it simple. Light, and look at the denials of light. And you wash out the denials and all that's left is light. He also knows a lot of spiritual traditions go, okay, we're going to emphasize on no thought. But he knows how we're addicted to thoughts. So instead, he moves us from the thoughts of the ego to thoughts to higher order thinking, thoughts of God. See, but as these denials fall away, the thoughts fall away. Denials of divinity are seen through. You're just happy because you're not embroiled in all the thoughts that are arising. I don't want to wake up, unlike nightmare dreams. This is really so good that you wrote this, because we're going to look directly to see it's all a nightmare dream until the desire to deny divinity is given up. It can't be the happy dream. And that's what happens in the spiritual search. Beings will go and, okay, they'll see, oh, yeah, okay, there's just the light here, which is helpful. And then there'll be spots of unbelievable joy. You get the love kisses from God. He's talking about a 24/7 love kiss. See, so you'll get these little bursts, which is beautiful. And it's like, oh my gosh, this joy is off the rail. Can this joy get more? It's just like crazy. And, this peace. But it won't be consistent as long as there's a play. There's some part of the play in consciousness. So it's really helpful to see that it's all a nightmare, 100% nightmare, without giving up personal identity. Supreme happiness, without really seeing that infinite love. That's why we need conviction. He tells us we need to be more convicted in who we are beyond the idea we have, beyond the idea of what we think the happy dream is, even actually. We can't even have any ideas whatsoever about what the happy dream looks like. Have no ideas about it. Just say, focus on light, denial of light, light, denial of light, light, denial, and clear, 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 clear. As many as he can give. and focus on those two things. And then it reveals itself, this happiness and joy just reveals itself, just sitting there and happy for no reason whatsoever. So it has just changed from arguing with myself to getting on with myself. It changes to being the self. It goes from the argument between two to no argument with anything. Happiness argues with nothing. Does the divine light argue with anything? So it's not getting on with it. It's just, it's celebrating yourself. You can think of it that way. It's celebrating totality just as it is. Until a desire comes up and then you ask quick for a miracle. Jesus, I can feel that tension. Ask for a miracle. Does it ever end? What if there's no one left to love? Does it ever end? Let's ask the light. Does the light ever end? So it's unending joy. Let's ask the light. Is it unending joy? And before the ego comes in and goes, but the ego is the one that's creating the idea that it's not unending joy. Infinite joy with no one left to love. You'll see you are love. You're love itself. Let's ask the light. Are we love itself? Is the light saying, no, you're not love? We're love. That's identity. See, we're so used to that exchange. Like someone's gonna come along, they're gonna walk by and I'm gonna fall in love with them. See that? That's the play in consciousness. I'm gonna love these three people right over here. It's gonna be, we have a big family union. I come from a huge family. We have family reunions. They still do them. I could just go based on guidance. 100 beings will show up. But that's a desire for specialness. I have to say it. It serves its purpose and function, and the Holy Spirit can use every constellation if we constantly look. But there's implicit under that, whenever there's an implicit, that there's a certain group of beings that are more lovable than others. Do you see? We are love itself, celebrating itself as it is, whole and complete and total. And as long as there are ideas that there are certain beings that are lovable and others more lovable and less lovable, that's the way we feel about ourselves. All the feelings that we have about the world is how we feel about God, which is us. So the whole idea that there's some beings to love more than others, that's the way we feel about ourselves. At times we're worth love and sometimes we're not worth love. And he's offering, you are this infinite love. You're the totality of all that is, that has the power to express a world. That's why he knows for sure, absolute 100% probability that we can do anything he asks, because we just manifest this. You can ask him. It's hilarious. I'll ask him because it's funny, because it's a good reminder too. I ask him, am I making this? He goes, yep. I can hear that. Yep, I'm making that too. That's what the ego doesn't want to see, because it wants to deny divine power, to be small and limit the experience of infinite love through desire. So yet, in honesty of God, when we look, can love be limited by desire and truth? Infinite, unchanging love, can it be limited through desire to have an experience of limitation? Love doesn't know how to be limited. Light doesn't. That's why we talked about it, and Renee and I were talking about that, the use of the word light, because we have such a conceptual idea of what love is, when love is us. This total, complete, abject power, the power that moves the world. We're this. Does it ever end? What if there's no one left to love? See, there isn't anyone left to love, because love is itself. And the light of divine being, is there honesty of God, light of divine, is there anyone to love? And hear the answer from the light. See, the ego makes love an action. It makes it, I love you. But if you look underneath the I love yous of the ego, there's a because. It's sort of like I've explained this before. My ex-boyfriend, I loved him because he would do nice things for me. See, there was a because behind it. I really had to learn the infinite love, or I'd be upset and not love him if he talked to me in a certain way. See, there was a because. It was like this always prove to me that you love me kind of thing through what he did. I'm checking in to see if there's any of that left. So much love for him, but it's love. It's like, it's without, it has no borders on it. See, the ego paints these borders about what another being has to do in order to earn love from us. Or it's the horse trading, horizontal. Jesus saying, how will we ever be happy when we're love itself? We're all the love that God could ever give. We're already that. And we're just like squeaking out love to ourselves. We created such a tight gate that we can't even experience ourselves as we are, whole and complete right now. Do we have to dream, pretend to love? The dream is pretending to love. The dream is a pretend that love moves horizontally between bodies. That's the dream. And this body, I feel more love with this body, then I feel more love with that body, with this body. We can see it, that play in consciousness. I love that. Muji says, I can tell how much I love Muji. I love you because you are. Oh my God. I love you because that's the love of God. I love you because you are. And that just has a because there's no way to express it. There's no love you if, love you when, love you why. You are love. That's all there is. In the light of divine being, is love here? Is love us? And hear the light say, answer. I simply love loving, which is a great place to start. Just love loving. Be only love. That's all we can be. Because that's all God gave us to be, is love itself. And then look where the denials, where we try to squeeze love into a shoebox and put definitions of it. This is what it looks like. I remember, there's like a course called Love Language. Let's ask, and then if you learn my love language and speak to me the way I want to be loved, do you see who's speaking that? Who's speaking love language? Love doesn't have a language. Let's ask the divine light. Does love have a language? See, that's trying to control form, to make another being love us the way we want. See, we're trying to use consciousness to get love. Does consciousness give us love? Let's ask. Consciousness doesn't give us love. Consciousness is a play so we can feel like we're not loved. Until we see consciousness in totality, that's unified consciousness, to see that is an expression of totality and all the love there is. It's just a full-on out into the world blowout of love going this way. And then we play the fragmented roles in it until we see, oh, it's one, no other. And love is here in fullness, complete and holy, whole. And the light of divine being and honesty of God is love here, total and complete. Perfect happiness. And that we can never be happy. How could we ever be happy with the way the world defines love? How can we ever feel happy by that, really, in truth? With the miscreation of love. It's like we try to divide love like a pizza and decorate it. And it looks like this little package and this little thing that I'm giving you for your birthday. It's not to put any of that down. It can be really beautiful. Until we really learn to listen to Jesus and say, Jesus, is this divine expression for everything, whether we give a birthday package or not? See, is this a divine expression of love moving through me? Rather than the limited idea I have, I'm going to give a package. It's really good to look at gifts. What we think we're giving is a conceptual idea of a gift, because we're the gift. Just who we are. And that's why we need the help of the divine light to show us, okay, here's where you're backpedaling, like we talked about earlier. Here's where you're trying to slice love into a little tiny pie and give yourself so little of it. Where we're trying to limit who we are. It's limitation on identity. When we're infinite love, unchanging, in the light of divine being and honesty of God, are we unlimited? And can we ever be happy with a limited idea of what love is? Ever? So we need that light. Let's ask the light. Do we need the light to teach us what love is? To show us what love is? See, that's why Jesus in the Course can't talk about love in that book. And he didn't try to. He says, I can show you where the denials are. That's why we have an entire tome. Here are all the denials to what's infinite. And then we just go, okay, I'm in. I see the lights here. And now we just begin to see, okay, here's a place where I'm saying no to infinite love. Here's the way I'm saying no to infinite love. And we miracle, like the whole talk is, can't ask for enough miracles. In the light of divine being, can we ask for enough miracles? You're like, no. Because the light knows that we don't ask for enough miracles. Because the miracles are way out of the dream, and the ego wants not to have any miracles because then it can preserve its dominion, it's the play in consciousness. Just thank you, Jesus, for coming and just showing us. I definitely didn't know what love is. But through this, releasing all these denials, it's a direct grease the skids and asking for miracles right into infinite, unchanging light. No death. No fear. Perfect happiness. This is the Supreme Happiness Club. I'm grateful to be in it with all of you. So keep the questions coming. These are so great. In those insights, oh my God, where everybody's just seeing it. They see in the play. seeing that this is just a play of saying no to ourselves as divine light. Amen. Love from San Juan Kosala. Thank you for playing in the divine play with us. We love you. So grateful to have you with us. Big hugs.